The plus sign is a universally recognized symbol for addition. It can also be represented as adding 1 to a 3 times. Hyphen denotes a minus sign for subtraction. It can be used to denote the operation of subtraction or negative numbers. You can represent it as subtracting 1 from a 3 times. Multiplication symbol is used to denote repeated additions. It can also represent the Cartesian product. It can also be represented as an asterisk or dot, and it is expressed as adding a to itself b times. Obelix is the inverse of multiplication. For integers, it is defined as a repeated subtraction. Equal symbol denotes equality between two expressions. For example, a equals b equals b, a equals c. These equations are reflexive, symmetric, and transitive. Plus and minus symbol indicates an equation can be true when either plus or minus is the correct operation. It can also denote range in the number line or error margin, where the inaccuracy is measured through absolute or relative error. A counterpart to minus plus symbol is the plus minus symbol, or in other words, minus plus is used in conjunction with the plus minus symbol. Apostrophe is commonly used to denote prime notation or the derivative of anything. E is very commonly used to denote the constant E in a certain font, but is also used in scientific notation as a shorthand. The square root symbol is used to denote the inverse of squaring. With left superscript, it can also denote a, a non-square root with the number representing what power it represents. It can also be represented as a fractional exponent. Logarithm works similarly to square root, but instead finds what power a base needs to be raised to get a number. Element of denotes that a set contains an element. Not element of is the opposite of element of, and it denotes that an element is not contained in the set. Subset of or equal to denotes a set is either a subset to or equal to. Subset and not equal to denotes a proper subset, where the leftmost set is a subset and solely a subset of the rightmost set. Superset denotes the set A is a superset of set B, or all elements in set B are contained in set A. Set union is a type of set operation that is idempotent. It joins all non-duplicate figures in sets. Set intersection then joins all duplicate figures in the set. Backslashing denotes set difference, where all elements in set A are removed from set B. Mathematical script period denotes all possible subsets containing the set, or the power set. It can also be written as absolute value notation with two vertical bars around it. Angle theorem represents the angle in radians or degrees. Uptacking denotes that a perpendicularity or orthogonality, where the dot product of two vectors is zero and forms a 90-degree angle regardless of what dimension the shape is in. Congruent denotes two figures being congruent or isometric, where the figures are not only topologically equivalent, but they are the same regardless of their orientation. Lesser than denotes an inequality where the leftmost value is lesser than the rightmost value. As shown as in the number line diagram, A is lesser than 4, denoting all numbers on the number line less than 4, not including 4, can be A. Greater than is another type of equality, which is the opposite of lesser than, which means that inequality is represented by a number being Laplace value. Greater than or equal to denotes the Laplace value is either greater to or less than or greater to the value. Less than or equal to denotes the Laplace value is either equal to or greater to the value. Approximately greater than denotes the using comparing functions as x is the limit to infinity. For example, in the example shown below, as x converges to infinity, the symbols will be the same, and f of xv will only be approximately greater than g x. Approximately lesser than is the opposite of the aforementioned definition. Top is a symbol that looks like a T. It is a constant denoting proof, and in Boolean algebra it is exactly equal to 1. For example, all dogs are canine is equal to top. Bottom, the opposite of top, is a constant denoting a false value. In any system, it is exactly equal to 0, such as Boolean algebra again. The statement all watermelons are birds is also false. Exclamation point negates true or false values to reverse input. For example, A equals 1, A exclamation point equals 0. Or you could say A equals top and negated A equals odd. For odd and denotes a universal quantifier, denoting that all x apply to property P. For example, in a real number system, x squared does not belong to the negative set of real numbers. There exists notes for some x property P applies. There does not exist as a shorthand for there exists but negated, and can also be written as the extension quantifier with an exclamation point. And it returns true if both statements are true, or denotes if one or more statements are true, or operator returns true. XOR or exclusive OR denotes that exactly one statement is true is one XOR operator that returns true. X bar indicates a sample mean, the estimate of the population mean, where only a part of the elements are sampled. Lowercase mu denotes the population mean, the average of the entire set, unlike the sample mean, which only collects a small portion. X tilde denotes the median of the set, where all numbers in the set are ordered from least to greatest, and the center item is the median. Alpha denotes a type 1 error where you reject a correct hypothesis. Uppercase beta indicates you failed to reject an incorrect hypothesis. Type 3 error is usually denoted by gamma by some mathematical contexts, but this notation is not universally recognized. It denotes that you came up with the correct hypothesis, but you came up with the wrong reasoning for the hypothesis. Square symbol denotes that P is a property that is true in all possible worlds. For example, 2 plus 2 equals 4 is possible in all sets in all worlds. Diamond symbol is the weakened version of square symbol. It denotes that at least one time it is true for a certain value. For example, it does not guarantee it will rain in every world, but it is guaranteed at least one world it will rain. Turnstile looks like a turned top. It denotes syntactic entailment and derivability from a set premises P, where P is provable from a set of premises, such as the example shown below. Double tensile denotes semantic entailment from a set of premises P. Arrow symbol denotes implication or something can be implied for another. For example, if all lips are raspy, that means if all rowdies are lazy. That implies all lips are lazy because of trends in the inflation. Biconditionality symbol denotes if and only if. For example, x squared equals 0, that means x equals 0. Same order of magnitude denotes that functions are in the same power of 10. For example, in the limit shown, both values eventually converge to 0. They both contain an x cubed, and the constant added is not of relevance, meaning they are in the same order of magnitude. Assuming x is an integer due to the presence of the GCD function. The seed symbol indicates A precedes B in the specific order. The seed symbol indicates A succeeds B in the specific order. Sigma denotes repeated summation through a range. Integral denotes antiderivative. With subscript and superscript, it can also denote the definite integral, the area under a curve. Capital pi denotes a sequential multiplication operation through a range, similar to sigma. Every symbol has already been mentioned, but this definition is different. This time it represents a morphism in category theory, showing a structure preserving mapping between two objects. Ring operator denotes function composition or the function applied to another function. The inverse morphism is represented by f with superscript -1. There exists with an exclamation point is used to denote the uniqueness quantifier when there is only one instance of property P in the set. Square kappa is used for the disjoint union, where duplicate items are combined with their identities preserved. For example, the example shows that the two sets combined have to keep their own identities. Symmetry is not standard, but it is sometimes informally used to denote the shape is symmetrical. In Unicode, it is listed as a technical symbol, not in math necessarily. Mod denoted by the letters M of E denotes the remainder. Identical to, which looks like an equal sign with an extra line, denotes congruence. In algebra, it may also represent identities. Complement denotes the probability represented by the formula 1 minus probability A. For example, this triangle equally partitioned into three parts. It has the probability of a single part being landed on of 66% in complement. Circle times, more commonly referred to as tensor, denotes the combination of vector spaces through multiplication. For example, V has two vectors and W has three vectors. 2 times 3 equals 6, so the dimension of the combination of those vector spaces is 6. Circle plus is the addition of vector spaces. For example, R subscript 3, circle plus R is isometric to R in the second dimension. Circle minus is a non-standard, but it is sometimes used to denote the complement summing. Turned ampersand is used in linear logic to denote the par connected. Bullet symbol refer or tensor again is a connective in linear logic. If A is proven and B is also proven, the tensor between them can be expressed. Ampersand denotes environment and not the consumer, decides which atomic preposition is given to the consumer. Circle plus has already been mentioned, but this is a different definition. Denotes the consumer chooses. question mark denotes a resource is examined. For example, appointment for a doctor is available because people can call whenever they need. Exclamation point denotes that an atomic preposition can be reusable, such as a resealable bag. Superscript of Latin denotes incompatibility, the impossibility of coexistence between two items. For example, iPhone 17 cannot run on the operating system Android 17. Bell tie denotes natural join. For example, the two relations in tables have been changed. The identifier has kept the same and the department has also kept the same. The appointed row has been added, and the identifier in relation S has not been added as it would be a duplicate, and the formula contains union. Greek small letter sigma denotes selection in tables of rows. Small letter Greek pi is often used to denote the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, but also represents selecting a column in relational algebra. Greek small letter rho denotes changing the name of a type. For example, previously in the table, this column's name was denoted as identifier, but now it has been transferred to alias. Three small letter gammas are even mentioned, but this is a difference of notation. In higher order relational algebra, it denotes grouping. Mathematical script F or calligraphy S denotes a sheaf and sheaf grid. The function f(u) equal f colon u identified when R is continuous is in between these two squares, or the sheaf of the two squares where data is being transformed. Square cap denotes defined as a GLB for letters and GCD for integers, where GLB denotes greatest lower bound. For example, C is the greatest lower bound. Square cap denotes the opposite of square cap. It denotes an LUB, or least upper bound, and A is the current upper bound because it is at the top. Square subset compares upper, lower, and intermediate elements, also denotes comparing information. Square superset looks like a recursive square subset, but it denotes A is greater to or equal to in rotational order. Divide set expresses that A divided by K is biconditional to the universal quantifier of K, which is in the set of integers, such that B equals AK. Does not divide is the opposite of division. Per milli sign denotes per thousand.